Hey guys, Mike Bland with another episode of Dark Side Operations. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. We appreciate all your support here in St. Louis. I'm going to do a video in response to some videos I've seen out there on training with Airsoft for transitioning over to real life training on how that compares and stacks up at the end of the day. The affordability, the gear that's out there, some of the stuff you need and what you don't need, and kind of in response to some of the other videos made out there right now, like T-Rex arms on this. And what I've learned, everybody has their own take, their own training experience, and some guys have, it's the biggest thing I've seen, I guess. I've been shooting my whole life, doing martial arts, police, SWAT, sniper training, search, high risk search warrants. A lot of tactical training, and then when I got out of law enforcement, going into executive protection and private investigations industry, obviously you're not still assigned to any units or doing active law enforcement training. So at that point, you have to, for those of you who don't know how that works, you have to then go on to seek out training on your own. And so obviously trying to find guys that have the credentials and stuff to kind of train you, you want to make sure that they've got some kind of background. So there are all different levels of stuff, of course, but I think the biggest thing I've seen over the past few years in trying to get involved more in YouTube and grow our exposure here in St. Louis and globally is that a lot of people just spend their day, cutting other people down, questioning the credentials or disliking their video or leaving comments and a whole lot of negativity. I was active on some of the Facebook pages for the AR-15 groups as well, and I enjoyed it at first because I was into the guns and everything, and then there was so much just like hate and negativity on there that anyone who's trying to be successful in life or whatever is not going to want to be around any of that. But where that all translates into this conversation is I see guys that, like I said, are trying to, right now with COVID and all these things going on, and with our country becoming communist like it is, that day by day, pretty much, you have to find another way to survive, adapt, and overcome what's going on, and all these limitations on finding a range to go to, or the ranges being closed, and with the affordability of ammo pretty much being just non-existent. Myself, like I said, I've shot and trained my whole life, and from training or just whatever it is I'm trying to get into and do or keep going, right now I'm not one of the guys that's just going out there and spending thousands on ammo because one, it's ludicrous. Two, it is not obviously a good financial decision. But unless you own millions or you own your own range or you have some extenuating circumstance, and this, money's no object, then sure, you can afford all these things, then you know what, then go for it. But this video is kind of directed for those people out there who are, not so fortunate. Everything's relative in life. And we all had different experiences and different amounts of training. I'm really good at some things, I'm okay at others, and I suck at a lot of things. So you have to be able to know your strengths and weaknesses. But you have to also just help out the next guy. There's people out there that think that if you buy a certain type of rifle, that's going to make you a sniper, and others realize that that's hysterical. So I think that diving into this topic here, though, I think with Airsoft, I've done, training with real ammunition. I've done Sims training. I've done training with Airsoft at this point. So how does that all stack up against each other? I'll be honest, and paintball, but again, it's all similar. So, my first experience when I was 18 and way before I was a police officer, I was, introduced to paintball back in the 90s. And that was actually my first experience, realizing if I wasn't using, cover and concealment properly, if I was being noisy, and all these things that, something happens and that you get shot and you're out of the game. Or in real life, you don't get that luxury of just being, you're permanently out of the game, you're dead. So you have to be cognizant of all these things and how they all play, but you got to make it as realistic. If you're going to do the airsoft training for tactical scenarios, there's going out with your friend or your girlfriend or your airsoft buddies and just shooting cans off the fence or plinking at each other, but doing it in a fun manner and not having any rhyme or reason behind it. And then there's taking it to the next level of where, again, if you're a guy who's a prepper, survivalist, executive protection guy, police officer, someone who's just trying to get into this, as difficult as things are now, then I 100% think airsoft is a great route, because stuff's not cheap still. I mean, this is thousands of dollars and stuff right here, and these are all airsoft except for this weapon. This is an actual BB gun, and I'll get to that in a second as well. And then this is just a training knife. But as far as the handguns, the Glock 19 literally is the same exact specs as a real Glock 19, and it's gas powered, of course. And one problem with cold weather is you're only going to get a couple rounds off of this. So this is going to be, right now we have an indoor range set up, and we're using that for this. And this thing is same in feel, loads, action operates the same. The trigger is literally even the same. I mean, you can't tell the difference at all with this. So this here has been a great asset for training. And then this H&K 9mm with the suppressor is another one we've been using. Also gas powered, same mags, gas goes in the bottom, and load the mags just like a real weapon. You cannot tell it's a fake weapon at all. And I mean, the trigger pull and everything, these weapons operate just like the real deal. But so we're using this also for an indoor range for training. As far as the ARs, sure, there's the $50 airsoft version of any weapon where you can get it, you cock it once, fire the one plastic BB. I mean, if your budget again is $25 or $50, then that's better than nothing. When I bought these airsoft ARs, I've kind of learned that like everybody else, that it's whether you're buying a fake EOTech, a decent knockoff EOTech, or you're buying the real one. You're talking about $35 to $200 to $525. So again, your budget is going to dictate what you can buy, obviously, in life, and then that will slightly affect your training options too. So these were about $229 each. These are Echo 1s from Beam Shop in Edwardsville, Illinois. Again, literally the quad rails, the sights, the foregrips, the stocks, I mean, everything on these are interchangeable with the real AR. The mag release, we went with the 10.5-inch setup, which is predominantly because that's what we use for the real protection details in St. Louis and training. And, there are, again, the next step up from these were Crytek, which were about, $495, $500 a piece. They were all metal. These are high strength polymer here. So still spent way over $1,000 just getting up and going with this gear. Between the time you get the better battery chargers, the smart chargers, which by the way, I want to throw that out there. This kind of stuff is not worth anyone burning a house down or training compound over, but with the chargers, these come with a charger. One thing the guy at Bing Shop informed us of, which we were not aware of, is that the chargers that come with most of these weapons will just keep charging the battery. What can happen is they can explode, start a fire, all kinds of horrific things over just trying to do some airsoft training. So that was kind of the no-brainer, and we went with the smart chargers, which charge quicker, more efficiently, and shut off when the battery's charged. So that was something that is also an additional cost. If you want to play at nighttime, they have which I have on the way, the tracer laser units, which the suppressor emits a green laser, and you have the tracer airsoft BBs. At nighttime, they literally look like tracer rounds. So that's something we have on the way for nighttime training. Some of the guys get real crazy into this. If you want to use NVGs and PEC 15s and IR lights, I mean, that's great. Go for it. We're looking at doing some of that. Right now, though, our focus is, you know, doing tactical training, making that affordable, being able to fire off thousands and thousands of rounds at targets, at other players and our people doing training. And, you know, as far as also eye protection, some guys sometimes underestimate a lot of this stuff and think that because you're firing something that's shooting, you know, a projectile that's plastic and it's going 300 to 400 feet per second, that there's no danger in that. And for the most part, there's not until it bounces back and hits you in the eye. Something else we're doing some training with is the gas-powered BB guns. This here, I did notice you could feel a little bit more of the power kind of in between the rail gun and the responsiveness, and the CO2 tank goes inside of the handle here. So I was able to do more rapid fire, faster, and a little bit more accurate, like maybe shooting a 22 long rifle or a 9mm compared to the Airsoft. So you notice if you've been a shooter your whole life, you notice those sensitivity, you know, the trigger squeeze, the recoil. But again, you know, as far as that, some of the new people we were training, that's what we were kind of emphasizing, is that, you know, if you're doing the room clearing, shooting at other threats, engaging targets, sure. When you go from this, what's going to be the difference of going back to a real weapon? Sure, you're going to have way more recoil from an AR or a 1911 or of the real version versus Airsoft, but that's something that you'll quickly adapt to that. So again, there's millions of the apples and orange scenario here, but we're talking about affordability, still making it where you can engage other human beings and doing it affordable and safe. So as far as that, you want to make sure you have on the eye protection. These here, the masks just generally are used by airsofters. Again, there's a million variations from $20 to $500, tactical helmets, all kinds of face coverings, masks. Some guys just wear the goggles. So personally, the round coming out of here, you probably don't want to get smacked in the face from. I recommend a full face cover, but some guys, again, are fine wearing the goggles. So eye protection is definitely going to be a thing you want to have. And like I said, if you're using the indoor range and you're shooting at something with the actual BB pistol, and some guys even have, you know, are firing their live ammunition in their basement, so maybe like a 22 rifle. But if you're doing any of that, you definitely want to make sure you have your eye pro on, and in some cases maybe ear protection. So as far as you may wonder why we have the training knife, we're doing some knife, stick, and gun disarms and self-defense stuff there. That's just kind of all encompassed in this video. But yeah, some knife training. And these here are literally about $10 to $12 at Bing Shop in Edwardsville. Also, as far as a source of people to call that knows what they're talking about on this, and you don't want to do the online or the Facebook commenting or forums, Bing Shop in Edwardsville, they got a 60-acre training site, and they can pretty much sell or obtain any type of gear that you may need. So, you know, as far as putting, you know, tricking out your weapon, I mean, this here is a real sling. This actually came off our MP5, so that is a single point sling. But again, you can put lights, PECs, lasers, suppressors, different foregrips. And as far as the weapons, you can get everything from Glocks to H&Ks, ARs, MP5s. They've got M25 sniper rifles. They've got bolt action sniper rifles. They literally make airsoft miniguns, grenade launchers, pretty much anything you can think of. Obviously, for just all intents and training purposes, and if you're getting into tactical training, probably all you'd need would be a 10.5-inch shorty AR and a Glock 19, because that's generally the mainstay of what we're going to be carrying as operators and bodyguards in St. Louis, or whatever type of detail you're on. If we're out just doing private investigations only, obviously probably going to just be carrying a Glock 19 with a handful of mags and and maybe even have an AR in the car, depending on if we're going to a bad neighborhood or the person we're doing surveillance on is, you know, a high threat type person. And, you know, so, you know, make sure if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. I mean, we always like to network. We don't know everything either. And that's where, like I said, make sure you're helping the next guy out. That's the biggest thing I want to impress over any of this. And I just see so many guys just cutting people down. And, you know, no one ever gets anywhere with that. And as far as that topic too, you know, I've seen at this point in my life and with my training I've been through, I've seen the best shooters have always been the civilian guys. They have not been law enforcement or SWAT like myself. You know, I mean, SEALs, Delta Force guys, all these guys, they're great too at what they do. There's no mistaking that. These guys shoot thousands of rounds and then do, trigger, dry fire trigger exercises constantly. So they're the real deal. But, you know, sometimes these guys, all of us, can turn into the know-it-all on some topics and just, you know, being too good to talk to. You know, I've seen cops that won't talk to airsoft guys, and I've seen Navy SEALs that won't talk to cops, and it's because we're all too cool, you know, and that's just major male inferiority complex going on there. If you're so great at what you're doing, you know, you don't have to be cutting the other guy down or bragging about things, but I mean, try to, you know, help the next guy out. And if that person is wanting to learn to, you know, how to make a bug out bag, or how to learn to shoot, or how to, you know, start getting into room clearing exercises. And as far as on that topic too, I kind of blew past that. I did some CQB training with some guys, and it was really no different experience than what, you know, we're doing at our own indoor range. And that was, you know, slapping targets on the wall, using Sims rounds and shooting the targets, and clearing those rooms properly, systematically, and doing those with other people. So you're learning muzzle control. You know, the most dangerous thing you're going to run into in the real life scenario is obviously shooting your partner or shooting your teammate by flagging him across the back of his head with a weapon, or maybe they step in front of you unannounced. And that's where working as a team, shooting, moving, having communications, having a plan. If you're taking down a room or taking down a building, how you're doing that, what each person's role is, and you know, which weapons you're carrying, and like I said, some form of communication, so that you are not just a bunch of just wild men running all different directions and no one knows what's going on. Like maybe some little kids playing with Nerf guns, and you're actually acting as operators. And I think the big thing there is always in life, is just like anything else, is having a plan. But yes, sure, those who can shoot, move, and communicate, whether it's airsoft, paintball, or SWAT, or some type of executive protection, or even special ops mission, those guys are going to dominate the arena. And especially the communications deal. You can go out, you can do this stuff all day long. My first experience was when I was younger. Again, I did not have any radios or anything, and we were playing against guys that were pretty much pros at this. They had ghillie suits on, and they knew how to move, and stealthily. They knew how to shoot. They had really good paintball weapons back then, and these things could reach out and nail you from 100 yards and more accurately. And they also had on the throat mics where they could, you know, press on and talk, and had the earpiece and the whole deal. So we were trying to figure out why these guys were, you know, flanking us and doing L-shaped ambushes and coming up from our 6 o'clock and all these things. And it's because they were communicating. And finally, so the secret got out, and, you know, we were all mad, of course. We were all young guys, and we were like, man, no kidding. No wonder you guys are so good, you know. But that element of communication and people being to be interactive and know where their teammates going, or telling them to flank around to the right, or push to the left, or circle from the 6 o'clock, you know, or retreat back and regroup, or whatever. You know, there's all different types of things. And or if one guy was pinned down and needed help, then he could you know, yell for help. The guys without communications, obviously, you're just stuck on your own, and you're at the mercy of the bad guys, or the opposing force. So again, and as far as, you know, other gear, you know, a lot of guys get fully kitted out when they're doing the airsoft training. I mean, one thing, you know, Again, I think people get these lines confused. There's looking cool, and there's having all this, you know, NVGs and backpacks and multicam outfits, and then there's doing it because you may want to look cool or play Navy SEAL for the day, but then there's doing it because you're training the way you're going to be operating. And definitely, whatever you're going to be wearing for whatever it is you're doing, you want to be wearing the gear to familiarize yourself with it. See if it's even comfortable. If the gear's all streamlined and organized, once you get into a real life scenario, you don't want to be, you know, using this gear for the first time or realizing this doesn't fit, or I can't move my arm, I can't reach my knife, I cannot reload, I can't get to my water bladder. So these are things you want to try and you know, and bleed and sweat in training so you don't have to in combat. So you know, another thing too, coming from my background and having been in several scenarios where people had either shot at me, tried to run me over with the van, tried to stab me, or do numerous things to me in law enforcement. You know, in those times, your adrenaline is going full steam, your breathing's jacked up, you know, you're sweaty, and things are going by super fast. You know, thoughts are flashing through your mind, and you want to try to replicate that in your training, whether you're at the range doing combat shooting, whether you're doing indoor training, say Sims or Airsoft. And the only way to try to replicate that is to, you know, if you're doing room clearing indoors with Airsoft and you're engaging targets, stationary targets, you want to have someone maybe, you know, standing over your shoulder, yelling at you, rushing you along. I mean, having other factors like flashing lights in the room, music, you know, strobe effects or something, all these, you know, exterior factors that are distracting you, and learn to focus and drive through that and just accomplish the mission. You know, moving targets, engaging moving targets is really great. That was something I had a problem with originally, but it's something that you have to find your weaknesses, and you have to, you know, focus in on that, because if you're good at something, you should keep practicing that as well. You can always get better, but there's other things you're going to find that each guy just has an issue with. And so, you know, you've got to find out what the thing is you're bad at, and you have to, you know, hit it home and really spend all your time really making sure that's, you know, locked down there. So again, if you have any questions or on the Airsoft topic, another video you can also refer to, actually they just made on this again, is T-Rex arms. I believe they've made 2 videos on that so far, but you know, make sure you help out the next guy. Until then, see you later, guys.